Greetings, this is the Steppen Gamer channel, and I am the Steppen Gamer. Like Herman Hesse's Steppenwolf, I play alone. Join me as I play traditional multiplayer games, solo.
And here we are. I'm ready to begin my solo 4-player game of Wroth by Chip Theory Games. I have the Vena, the Coda, the Paldane, and the Eldan. I have randomly placed the victory point tokens. Now the way they came out this time was, here's a 2-point token, and the other 3 corners are 1-point tokens, and the 4 in the center are the 1-point tokens with the added benefits, the spoils. This one's the extra Coda, the extra movement, the extra attack, and the extra deployment. On turn 1 you begin on phase 3, and you deploy 2 troops to the deployment zones. Then I've given everybody their starting Coda, and I roll the 4 all-seeing die. This is how I do it when I'm playing solo, and I go left to right and top down. So first one goes here, second one goes here, third one to the Paldane, and the fourth one I place for the Eldan. Then I move to phase 4, the draft phase. I roll all the dice, then I group them in order, and the general priority I set is Coda first, then movement, then deployment, then attack. But of course as the game progresses, this can become varied. But at the beginning, this is how I do it. I randomly selected Paldane as the first player, so they get the Coda. And everybody else gets the movement. Second movement goes to Paldane, deployment to Eldan, and Coda. And the extra die, which is an attack, is set aside. That's a Coda for Paldane, a movement for Eldar, they put 2 out there. Vena buys an Acolyte, places it out there, then plays their movement action die, and places 2 more out there. Play movement die, and add 2 more Coda to the deployment zone. And now we begin the second round. Paldane got the extra Coda, so they buy a Lion Elite and place it out. Then they use their 2 remaining die, the all-seeing die and the 1 remaining action die, and they perform an Exodus action. Now having that extra Coda was nice, and if they occupy this zone, they get a Coda in the spoils round. Or to properly term it, the spoils phase. So they're going to place 3 there. They'll place 1 on the 2 victory point area because they want to make sure that nobody gets a bonus 1 for being there alone. And the 2 remaining they'll place on this side with the bonus deployment in the spoils phase. Next is Eldan. Similarly, they'll spend both action dice to do a deployment action. They're going to deploy 3 here with this 1, and they should be able to guarantee that they get that in the bonus, and then they'll spread out and deny bonus to the rest. And actually, they'll put 2 on the 2. Now they've got that, unless somebody puts 2 or 3 in there. Now we go to the Vena. Similarly, they spend 2 dice to perform an Exodus action. They also want to guarantee they get this one for sure. They're able to deploy an Elite because it only costs 1. Make sure you pay that 1. Now they've got that. Put at least 1 there to deny that to anyone, and they'll put 3 there to guarantee they can get that. If not guarantee, make it tough. And the last one to move is Coda. Coda will spend the 2 dice to get the Exodus action. Now Coda is last, which is powerful because now they can decide exactly what's going to happen, who's going to get what. Now the Elden have 2 in this 2-point area. Coda plays 3, now they get those 2 points. And here Paldane has 3. They have 4 left, and they're going to place 4 here, which will guarantee them of getting this spoils next turn. And that is turn 1. Now the victory point phase. Area 1. Vena gets 1 point for the victory token, another point for being the dominant faction, and an additional point for the elite for 3 points. We go to Area 2, and again, Vena is the dominant faction. 1 point for the victory token, 1 point for being dominant faction, 2 points, and they now have 5. Area 3 is controlled by the Eldan, but they're not dominant, they just control it, and that gives them 1 point. Area 4 is controlled by Coda, though they don't dominate. They get 2 points for that. Now we move to the inner area. Area 5, Coda controls it with 4 tokens. That gives them 1 point for a total of 3. Area 6 controlled by Paldane, though they're not dominant either. They get 1 point. So at the end of round 1, Paldane is clearly in the lead. And now it is turn 2. We advance the first player token to the Eldan, and we begin the spoils phase. There are no spoil markers on the outside. Area 5 awards a Cora to Coda. Area 6 goes to Pauldane, and they can reinforce. And they reinforce in Area 6. Area 7 and 8 are controlled by no one. Now we're going to go to the groundwork phase. First thing that happens is everyone gets to deploy 2 troops to the deployment zone. Vena, Coda, Pauldane, Eldan. Now if you're interested in the plastic cube for me trays that you see here, there's a link to a video in the description where I talk about my storage solution for this game. These are cube for me trays, and I also have a link for the cube for me page where you can go and one click order the trays you need for the setup I use. I don't get any kickback from Cube for me for this. I just really like their products. Now I roll the 4 all-seeing dice and distribute them left to right, top down, as I've described. And everybody gets a Cora. I was thinking I forgot to count this elite for Pauldane, but since they don't control the area, they don't get points for the elite. And now we go to the draft phase. And you'll notice that the lowest score of 1, there's a tie, so nobody will get the extra die this turn. And this turn, we get some sweet Cora coming out this time. Got some deployment dice and some attack dice. And again, in our order, unless I have a compelling reason to act otherwise, this is the priority order I use when distributing dice. So these 3 Cora go to the first 3 players, then the 3 deployment dice go out, and last the hit dice go out. As I said, nobody gets the remaining die. Now the default optimal best strategy in Wroth is you want to save your big move for your last die that you use. That way others can't react to it. So on the first pass through the factions, all the factions that have Cora dice will be getting their Cora. Now Pauldane doesn't get a Cora. Here's 1 Cora, they'll spend it and deploy an iron will to a region they occupy. And that's going to be Area 5. They haven't played a die yet, but they're going to deploy with their double all-seeing die here. They're going to deploy 4 troops next time around. So this time, they're going to do a hit, they're going to knock off a Coda. And now they have control of this region. That probably won't last through the whole round, but we'll see. And now it's back to the Eldar. The Eldar spend 2 Cora, place an elegant in their deployment zone. They can expend their last Cora to place a Winden in an area they occupy. They'll place it here. Now they have a deployment die. They're going to deploy 2 more to this area, and they have a 2-hit all-seeing die. They're going to get rid of 2 Coda. Now we move to Vena. Vena has 2 Cora, which they deploy there. They use their double down die to deploy 2 troops, or 2 deploy actions, both of which they're going to deploy to Area 1. Now we move to the Coda. The Coda spend 4 Cora to place 4 traps. Now ordinarily when you place a trap, you place it like that and your opponent doesn't know what it is. Playing solo, I need to remember what it is. So I place them face up. Now they haven't used their dice yet, that's just they purchased elites. And traps of course get placed out immediately wherever they are already occupied. Then they have a 1-hit die and a 2-hit all-seeing die. The 2-hit all-seeing die is going to hit the Eldan, and the 1-hit die is going to hit the Pauldane. The Pauldane have an Iron Will elite here, and it has to be taken the hits first. And now we move to Pauldane. They have a double die, all-seeing die, so they can do this deploy move action up to twice. They're going to move like that. There's a couple things they could do with their final movement, but they're in the back and they need points. This gets them points. That ends phase 5. Now it's phase 6, the victory points phase. Vena gets 3 points for Area 1, 2 points for Area 2. Eldon gets 1 point for Area 3. Area 4 is 2 points to Coda. Area 5 is 1 point to Pauldane. Area 6 is 1 point to Pauldane. Area 7 is 2 points to Pauldane. No one occupies Area 8. Now we move to turn 3. Advance the first player token to Vena. On turn 3, the final move will go to Eldan. Additionally, since they have the least points, they'll get an extra die. Being behind everyone else, Eldan really needs some points this time. And Vena is running away with it, so if everyone else pretty much needs to focus on Vena. They sit here and chop at each other, Vena's just going to laugh because they're running away with the victory. And now my coffee is empty. So I'm going to go down and refill my coffee. When I come back, it's the spoils phase and Vena's first player token. I'll place Vena's token here on the spoils phase of the turnaround overview. So when I come back, having used this valuable save game function, I'll know right where I'm at. Now I come back, I've got my coffee, and I see we're on the spoils phase. Again, the outside 4 areas have no spoils on them. And Coda has 5 troops here, but Paldane has 6. So Paldane gets the Cora. And you know what? They have a persistent feat this game called Vanguard Reinforcements, which means that every time they would gain a Cora, they may instead deploy one of their elites. They're going to deploy a rider. The next thing they get to do, next bonus, is a hit, because they're here and they control this area. Now, conventional wisdom would say hit the Eldan right here, and then you'll get a bonus victory point. But the big issue, of course, is Vena. And so they're adjacent to this one, they can hit here. They'll take out this Vena troop. That ends the spoils phase. The groundwork phase starts with every faction deploying 2 troops. Shazam! Then I reroll and distribute the all-seeing die. Boom! And then everybody gains a Cora. And now everybody has 1 Cora. And now we do the draft phase, and we draft the faction die. And bam, everyone's locked and loaded. Then it moves 2 troops from the deployment zone to Area 1. Coda uses its attack die to start whittling away at Vena. Oh, you know what? I'm going to back this up. This is the Cora that Paldane got this turn. And instead they're going to use it to deploy another rider, which they can do. They're going to take the Cora die and gain a Cora. Eldan will spend a Cora and place a Winden. And then they will use the movement die to deploy 2 more life. Now we're back to Vena. Vena spends 1 Cora and deploys an Acolyte. Then they use their 2 remaining die, the all-seeing die and the other action die, to perform an Exodus action. And everybody moves to Area 5. And they leave the hag there. Now here's something critical. Last turn, I forgot about this. Coda did an attack here and removed one of Vena's troops. And there was a hag there. That means it would have cost Coda a troop. When playing solo, you sometimes miss little things like that. And in playing with opponents, you have to eat it up and say you forgot. But I got so many things going on here that if I notice something, I correct it. It is Coda's turn. Coda uses 2 die for an Exodus action, and now they control Area 1. Paldane executes an Exodus action. It places its riders here and 2 Leonids here. And now the Eldan, and they have 1, 2, 3 hits they can do. 2 of them are going to be right here, wearing down the Eldan there, and the other one is going to be here, and that will give them dominance in this region. And no one's going to lose sleep over it because they're so far behind. That ends the action phase. Victory point phase. Area 1, 1 point Coda. Area 2, no points. Area 3, 2 points Eldar. Area 4, no points. Area 5, no one in control, no points. Area 6, 2 points Paldane. 1 point for control, 1 point for an elite. After turn 3, the rest of the field is catching up. Ordinarily when I play Wroth, if the game's over in 4 turns or less, it's a quick game. And I've never had a game less than 4 turns. Almost every game is between 5 and 6 turns, and if it runs longer than 6 turns, it's a long game. Here we are at the end of turn 3, and the leader only has 10 points. I think this is going to be a long game. Now we move to turn 4. Advanced first player token to Coda. Now when you have to move first is usually considered the weakest turn order position, and last is the strongest. So it's always interesting when this moves because Vena goes from having the weakest position to the strongest, and see if she can recover what she's lost. Oh, and Vena has an Acolyte here. Twice they were attacked. Each time that means they would have deployed a Tyro to the deployment zone. Now we go to spoils. Nothing on the outside. No one controls Area 5. Paldane controls Area 6, and that's a deployment action for them. They'll deploy 2 more Leonids to Area 2 so that it can't be easily recaptured. And the control in Area 7 allows them to do an attack action. Doing 1 attack action here, since they have an Acolyte, will simply add a token here. So they're going to attack here. That ends the spoils phase. Now we have the groundwork phase. We're going to deploy 2 troops to the deployment zone. Then we roll all seeing dice. Boom! And everybody gets a Cora. And the draft phase. Boom, boom. And the action phase. Coda is the first player. They're going to use their feat of mutation, which allows them to place their Grizzled Elite in any area that they're already occupying. Then they spend 2 Cora, deploy their last 2 elites in area 5, and they still haven't used a die yet. They use a deployment die and deploy 2 troops to region 4. Paldane uses its Cora die and its 2 Cora in reserve to place a lion in the deployment zone and deploys to area 4. And because he's done that, Coda can remove a trap, and this trap says place 2 Coda runts in area 4. Boom. You know what? I believe I skipped over the Eldon. They would have spent 1 like that, and the final movement die to deploy 2 right there. And now we go to Venna. They spend 1 to place an Acolyte in the deployment zone, and then they deploy 2 more. That ends their turn. Okay, final actions for everyone. Coda deploys 2 to the heavily fought over western side of the hill of the island. They do a 2 damage attack on this hag. Now that attack will cost them a runt. And Paldane will use both its dice to do an Exodus action to reinforce its position on area 4. Coda's trap goes off and removes a Paldane. Now Aldan could do an Exodus action with all their extra dice here, but they want to wait until Venna commits with these troops. First attack takes out that troop. Because there's an Acolyte here, it costs them a troop. Their section action, they take out this troop. They have this troop here, and it's gone. Their third action, they can hit anyone from anywhere, and they will hit Venna right here. Now this hag is down to 1 point. Now Venna, with its last turn, does an Exodus. They gain control there. With everyone else, they move into Area 5. Now they've moved more than 4 troops into Area 5, so these 4 traps go off. First Coda gets 2 Cora. Then he gets to deploy 2 runts to that region. Now he has nothing in his deployment zone, so that doesn't happen. And finally, Venna takes a hit. Oh, and it's attack for 2 damage, so they take 2 hits. Because they suffer an attack in a region, they get to deploy. And they actually have 2 Acolytes. But it just all matters if it has at least 1. So boom. Like I say, this was Venna's power turn. Let's add up the points and see what we get. Coda gets 3 points in Area 1. Paldane gets 1 in Area 2. Eldon gets 2 in Area 3. Coda gets 2 in Area 4. Looks like we have a new leader. Coda's out front. Venna controls Area 5. We have 2 leaders. Area 6 is controlled by Venna. Area 7 is controlled by Paldane. They get to do an attack. They do an attack on Venna in Area 5. And that deploys the Venna to the deployment zone. Venna's down to 3 Tyros, its basic troops. So once those 3 are out, those Acolytes won't be able to deploy anything. Turn 5. Paldane gets the first player token. And we move to the spoils phase. Venna controls Area 5. They get a Cora. Venna controls Area 6. They get to deploy. They'll deploy them to Area 6. Now we go to the groundwork phase. This is where everybody deploys 2 tokens from the reserve. Venna cannot. For everyone else, then we roll the all-seeing die and deploy them. And then everybody gets a Cora. Instead of a Cora, a Paldane deploys a lion. Then we move to the draft phase. Now this is interesting. We've got 5 deploy. Deploy can only be used to deploy from your tray here to your deployment zone. This could hurt Venna. And now we begin the action phase. Paldane spends a Cora, deploys an Iron Will to Area 3. The Eldon have a plan. They deploy a couple troops to their deployment zone. Now since they have no troops left in reserve, they can't use this deployment die. They have to move these 2 basic troops, the Tyros, to Region 1. Coda spends 3 Cora to reinforce Area 3, and it spends a deploy die to add troops to Area 5. Top of the turn order again, Coda does a double deployment. First group he deploys to Area 7, the second group to Area 6. The Eldar deployed their last 2 troops. Now Paldane has a little long-range plan. They could do an Exodus move, but instead they buy 3 cauldrons, deploying them in an area they occupy. In a final play for dominance, Coda does an Exodus move, moves everybody to the island. And now, the last round, Pauldane can't use this die, and Elegant is going to do an Exodus move. Where can they dominate most effectively? They've got a plan. Now they control that one, now they control that one, and now they control this one. Because now we're in the victory point phase. Area 1, 2 points for the Eldan. Area 2, 2 points for the Eldan. Area 3, 2 points for the Eldan. 2 points for Coda. Area 5, 2 points for the Eldan. Area 6, 1 point for the Vena. Area 7, 2 points for Pauldane. And Area 8 is uncontrolled. Now, all game the Eldan have been dead last, and quite a ways back. In one turn, they're now in the lead. And now it's turn 6. Advance first player token to the Eldan. Die is on turn 6. And we do the spoils. Area 5, Eldan gets a Cora. Area 6, Vena gets to deploy. They can't. Oh, and I knew I'd forget this. Beginning of the turn, Vena gets to add 1 to every area with a cauldron. That has a cauldron, that has a cauldron, and that has a cauldron. She adds these from her dead pile. So that's how she's going to get these dead pile guys back on the board. Pauldane gets to do 1 attack for occupying Area 7. They attack the troop that was just added. Now because there's a Hag there, they get to add a troop, or deploy a troop, but they have nothing to deploy. So Hags are no longer this effective. And now I move on to groundwork. First we deploy 2 basic troops from every power. There's only 2 powers that have basic troops left. And out they go. Next we deploy the all-seeing die. Boom, boom. Everybody gets a Cora, and now it's the draft. Pauldane's in back, they get the extra die. Well, the Eldan spend all 4 of their Cora and deploy 2 Elegant in a deployment zone. Vena spends 2 Cora to place a Hag in her deployment zone. Coda take a shot at the Eldan. Pauldane deploy 2 troops in a deployment zone. Eldan move 2 to Area 5, and then with their all-seeing die, they take out the last Vena in Area 2. Vena does an Exodus action. Everybody moves from Area 5 to Area 6. Coda does an Exodus action and adds some more traps. Pauldane does an Exodus action and moves to Area 6. That ends the action phase. How are the points going to work out this time? Vena gets 2 points for Area 1. The Eldan get 2 points for Area 2. And 2 more points for Area 3. Vena gets 2 points for controlling the area and 2 points for her elites. The Eldan get 1, 2, 3 points for Area 5. With elites, Vena gets 2 points for Area 6. And Vena gets 2 points for Area 7. First player token goes to player 1. Now as I should do, beginning of the turn, deploy a troop from the cauldron here. And I've got 2 cauldrons in one area here, so I only get 1 troop added to that one. Now we go to turn 7. Allow me to switch to the 8-sider. The only purpose for the turn marker in a multiplayer game is just to keep track what turn it is. It doesn't really matter. But it gives me an idea how long the game's been going on. And we look at spoils. Cora goes to Eldan. Reinforcement can't be used. They've got nothing left to reinforce with, but they do get a shot. They'll take the shot at Vena. And we go to the groundwork phase. The only troops left to deploy are these 2 from Coda. And we roll the all-seeing die, and everybody gets a Cora. Turn 7 draft. A lot of movement. Let the action phase begin. Spend 2 Cora, deploy the last Hag. Coda deploys its last trapper. It wants to always get these points. Those points assured, places 2 over here to rob Coda of that free point every turn, hinting that maybe somebody else ought to help with that. Pauldane says, watch this. With the last action they move into Area 2, and then this is their special ability, they move back out, and it deals 2 damage, so they basically did a charge. Now they use their ×2 all-seeing die to do that exact thing again. Boom. The Eldan need to get something going here. They deploy those into there. Then they spend 2 Cora to do a volley, doing 2 damage on these Coda. Back to the top of the order. Pauldane, play an Exodus dice. That is what they do. Coda plays an Exodus action and makes a power play for the center. Pauldane had a plan, but they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to move 2 guys into here and get 2 points easy that no one can contest. And with their extra die, they can spend 2 Coda and deploy their final rider. Now we count points. Area 1 is Vena with 2 points. Area 2 is Vena with 2 points. Area 3 is Vena with 2 points. Each of those areas is worth 1 point, plus they have an elite worth a point. So that in total has given them 6 points. Coda get 2 points for controlling this area and 2 points for their elite. Coda controls this area as well, so that's 1 point, 2, 3 with their elite. Now here Pauldane controls the area, they get 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. They dominate Area 7 and Area 8. That's 2 points, 4 points. Top to bottom, we still have a 5-point spread, which is a pretty tight grouping for this game. This is where it can get very chess-like as you try to calculate where you can put things and where you can get points. Now we're at the rare turn 8 of this game. I won't forget this time. They've got a cauldron there and they get 1. They've got 2 cauldrons here, but 1 per area. The way it's ruled is if an area has at least 1 cauldron, you get to bring back 1 from the dead. We change to turn 8. We move the first turn marker up to Coda. Spoils. Coda gets a Cora. Pauldane gets a deploy. They're not eligible, they have nothing to deploy. And they get to take a pot shot at something. Take a pot shot at that. Coda loses a runt. Now it's control area 8 this time. That allows them a movement. They'll move a rider to area 2. Groundwork. No one has troops to deploy. Like I say, it's not common for this game to run this long. And now we have the all-seeing dice deployed. And everybody gets a Cora. Grafting phase. Now this die, which is a deployment die, which allows you to deploy to any area. But at this point, no one has anything to deploy. So from now on, these are just dead dice. So this turn, the spare die can't actually be used other than to be part of an Exodus action. We'll deploy them in priority order. Coda opens the action phase with an attack on Pauldane. Pauldane moves everyone up in an Exodus action, which sets off all 5 of the Coda traps. 2 of them destroy 2 of the Pauldane, 2 of them gain 2 Cora, and 2 of them allow Coda to make 2 moves. They actually are going to quit the whole region. And then, while it's still their turn, they spend 3 and deploy 3 here. And Pauldane does an Exodus and moves thusly. Eldon remove 2 Coda. Pauldane do a total of 3 hits, eliminating a rider block. And on the second round, no actions are left, no action dice are left because these guys did Exoduses for the first 2 players. Eldon will move 2 into area 6. Alright, that's all the dice. Let's see what we have for points. Then I get 2 points for area 1. 2 points for area 2. Nobody controls area 3. Pauldane gets 4 points for area 4. Area 5 goes to Coda for 1, 2, 3. And area 7 and 8 again deliver 4 points for Pauldane. Wow, I never would have thought we'd have a 3-way tie this late in the game. Well, now we go to the 9th turn. Pauldane is starting this turn. Nobody has troops to deploy. All move dice are rolled and deployed. The draft dice are rolled. Notice I've changed the deployment a lot. Cora no longer the key thing because people have got all their elites deployed. And to deploy troops to any zone is useless when you have no troops to deploy. Of course, either of these can be used for a combined Exodus move. And then you have the regular move. On the last Cora, the Pauldane would have gained, they instead deployed an elite. He'll spend this elite to deploy this elite to here, and then he moves back and eliminates the yellow, a Vena. Now the Eldon find themselves in kind of a pickle because normally you attack who's ever in the lead, but 3 guys are tied ahead of them. And it's going to be tough to decide where they're going to get all the points. So they're going to use their double die to double this deployment action. Deploy those 2 guys to there. With the other deployment action, they're going to deploy these 2 guys to here. Now we go to Vena. Vena has that under control. They'll move a couple more troops up into area 2. Coda will move a bunch more troops up and reinforce area 1. Coming around for the second round, Pauldane will play an Exodus and pile into area 6. Vena moves the whole gang into area 5. with an Exodus move. Coda destroys 2. Anyway, Coda can change the status quo of 1 over there. We finish the action phase and let's see if this game will end on turn 9. Area 1 goes to Coda for 3 points. Coda has enough to win the game, but how is anyone else going to catch up? Vanna has 1, 2, 3. Vanna reaches 30. Area 3 goes to Eldon for 2. Area 4 goes to Pauldane for 2, 3, 4. Area 5 goes to Coda for 2. Area 6 goes to Vanna for 3. And Area 7 and 8 go to Pauldane again for 4 points. And in the end, Pauldane wins. And I would not have been able to predict that. Wow. Obviously, somebody should have been moving up into this area. But it was so tight every turn in all the other areas. The status quo was tight. Good game. Well, thank you for watching, and I'm trying to hone my skills at this game. So if any of you have any ideas of what I should have, could have, would have done, let me know in the comments below. Thank you.